beautiful lesson from the Dudaei Reuven on Parashas Re'eh. So the Dudaei Reuven says, Re'eh, Anochi noten lefnechem hayom beracha u'kol ha'asi. I'm placing before you today a blessing and a curse. And what's the blessing? Asher tishmu mitzvot Hashem Elokechem asher anochi mitzavetchem. The blessing is that you listen to the mitzvos of Hashem your God that I'm commanding to you today. And then a few verses later, it says, these are the laws that you shall guard to do in the land that Hashem is giving to you to inherit all the days that you're on earth. Destroy all the places that the idols have worshipped. Their gods on the mountains and on the peaks and under the trees. Destroy their altars and burn their idols and destroy their names from this place. Don't do that to Hashem your God. The place that Hashem chooses from all your tribes, the place is named there you should seek out and come there. Okay, it's an innocuous verse, but not innocuous, but it doesn't, what's the problem? So the Dudaei Reuven asked the question, what's the connection to the place that Hashem chooses to place his name there, to what it says above, you shall not do this to Hashem your God. It says you should destroy the idols, but don't do that to Hashem your God. You should come to the place that Hashem is choosing for you. So what's the relationship? So first he says he heard, meaning he heard in the name of Rabbi Dudaei Diskin, who explains, what does it mean, you shall not do this to Hashem your God? It means that this is a warning that you're not allowed to erase God's name. Dudaei Reuven says this is a reference to Tractate Sukkah, where it states that when David was trying to bring the ark into the temple, he dug the springs. And what happened was, at that moment, the water underneath the ground overflowed and it began to try to destroy the world. So David said, is there anybody who knows if I can write God's name on a shard? Because they believe that if you write God's name on a piece of pottery and you throw it, it has magical powers, a special name of God. He said, I can take God's name and throw it into the waters will recede, and then we'll be saved. But in doing so, we'll erase God's name. So am I allowed to erase God's name in order to save the world? That's what David HaMelech asked in the Gemara in Sukkah. So he says, does anybody know the answer? Nobody said anything. He said, if anybody knows the answer and they don't speak up, I want them to choke to death. So Achitophel spoke up and he said, well, I'll prove to you that it's okay. He says, to make peace between a man and his wife, the Torah says, my name, which was written in holiness, can be erased to make peace between man and his wife. That's by the Sotu woman, the adulterous woman. We erase God's name from that passage. Then for sure, to make peace in the world, how much more so are you allowed to do it to make peace in the world? So it's allowed. To save the world, of course, you can erase God's name. So he said, well, this, says Rabbi Dudaei Diskin, is the explanation. Don't do this to Hashem's name. It's a warning against erasing God's name. But when you come to the temple, if it's to save the world in that spot, when you come to the temple, then you're allowed to do it. Okay, that's a very sweet explanation. But the Dudaei Reuven asks a more fun, says, these are his words. He said, he says, I have a completely different explanation. And this, by the way, of all the essays that the Dudaei Reuven writes, I think this is maybe one of his shortest, actually, because he does a couple on Re'eh. So he does two. So I'm doing the first one, which is a little shorter. He asked the very, very simple question. Why does God say, to the place that you will go, there you should worship me? Why doesn't God say Jerusalem? Why doesn't God say Jerusalem? Why doesn't God say Jerusalem? Why does he just say to the place where you will go? And so, anybody want to say? Does anybody know the answer? Everybody's quiet. Okay. Okay. Hold on one second. So the Dudaei Reuven says that he connects it to the first part of the verse prior to it. He says he was just talking about the place that in Israel they're going to be worshiping idolatry, especially on the tall mountains. And so he says the Torah was concerned. This place of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem was so holy that it's possible that if we said that this place was holy, then they would specifically go there to worship their idols. And before we were ready to conquer it and to take over Jerusalem, and so therefore, because the Torah was not able to promise that the idols won't go there, so therefore the Torah specifically chose that to stop telling people where it is, to hide this place. And only when it came time did he reveal it, because otherwise there would be this God forbid place, that this place of holiness would be worshipped by idolatry. And so that's what the Dudaei Reuven says is the connection between this first part of the verse and the second part of the verse. I think it's a very powerful idea. The Torah is telling us that there's certain information that the Dudaei Reuven is saying. The Torah says, if I tell it to you too soon, you're not ready for it. You're not ready for it. You're not ready for everything yet. And that's very powerful, because if we reveal the secrets of the Torah before the world is ready for it, then people could use it for very bad things. And this relates to other aspects in the Torah. There are certain aspects in the Torah that the Rambam says it specifically, that the Torah doesn't tell us everything according to the way it's supposed to be, because Torah recognized that the world was not ready for it yet. So certain things had to be delayed until later. It's a very powerful idea that Dudaei Reuven is introducing, and I wish I could go more into it, but right now, like I said, I have to stop at 1:15. I apologize for stopping a little early today, but it's not because I don't love you, and it's not because I don't want studying Torah with you. It's not because I don't value the Torah study. It's just because certain things I have to take care of. So anyway, I'll stop here. Yeshakach to everyone, and thank you for our sponsor.